Thanks for joining us. All right, we're going to – I know, right? Whether you like it or not, right?
Yeah. I like this one.
You do? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and continue with our post-race media availabilities. We've now been joined by our race winner, Denny Hamlin. And, Denny, just to kick us off, tell us a little bit about those final laps. A lot of moving and shaking in those final laps. From your perspective in the driver's seat, just give us an overview of what it looked like for you.
Well, I mean, truthfully, I thought our chances of winning were pretty much dashed when we had it's a little slower stop on the last one. I think I restarted around 12th on that last restart, and then just picked them off one by one. I mean, I just tried my best. That was not the best my car was handling on that last run, so I thought we were going to be a little limited by traffic. And, the way our car was, we had some damage on the right side of our car from the pit road incident on that last stop. So things were not optimized, to say the least. And but we just were very, beneficial of some guys running, less than 100% up front until we got there. Then they raced 100%. But it just worked over the guys one by one. Just tried to give them so many different looks to surprise them entering the corner, to try to, everyone's trying to predict where you're going to run, and with these mirrors in the cars nowadays, they can just kind of, even if they guess wrong, they can just switch lanes in the middle of the racetrack and really hold you back. But, I just got close enough to Byron. I saw the part of the racetrack where he was most vulnerable. And so I just started setting up, how can I get as close as I can to him at that vulnerable spot of the track, and then use aerodynamics to my advantage versus his. And that allowed me to get up beside him, surprise him into turn one, down on the bottom, and get him off the bottom and go side by side and take the lead.
All right, we're going to go ahead and open for questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll work to get a mic to you, and we'll start with Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. Talk about the post-race celebration in front of the fans and taunting them a little bit. I thought you weren't going to do that anymore.
Yeah, I know it. I thought about saying it a few other times, but, my dad, but and this one, son knows best. So just going to have to live with it. I was a little disappointed with my burnout. I promised my friends over in turns 3 and 4, that I would do a burnout after we won today. I went and hung out with them earlier this morning, took a picture with them. They had their 11 flag up on the bus, and they asked me if I minded doing a burnout in front of their bus after I won. I said, no problem, I got you. So I had to cut the front stretch burnout short. I was nearly out of gas, and then went over there and ran out of gas. But I don't know, it's just, coming up to the school up north, backyard up here, just had to give him the OH.
Playing the role of the villain and kind of the heel, it seems you kind of relish it a little bit, and it seems like you thrive in it as well.
Well, I just think that it's a lot of fun for me. I mean, I love, making people feel a certain way, positive or negative. I do not care. I mean, all the fans that I've been face to face with have been very respectful. What they say outside on the other side of the fence, free reign. Do whatever you want to do, say whatever you want to say. But they've been very respectful in the small arena. So I do have a lot of fun with it. I do thrive on it, just simply because you feel like you've got 60,000 people that are rooting against you. And when you have that, it just feels really, really good and gratifying to prove them wrong. And so I love that feeling, and it makes these wins more gratifying to me.
All right, Bob, go ahead.
Fox Sports, you did stay here last night, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, did you get good sleep? Might that be your last good sleep? And
yeah.
Are you nervous, during the day, or are you
I was a little nervous just because we put the lap 50 cutoff of, if it happens before lap 50, that I just go ahead and get out, just because of the time. And then if it was after, I thought that by the time she gets her shit together and gets to the hospital and all that stuff, I mean, you just never know how it all turns out, but it's I think I could make it, as long as I had a 3-hour window. And if it's after lap 50, it's going to take me 4. So I I felt decent enough about it, but we had to set some sort of cut off of, you know, whether I was going to finish or not. So I was very nervous last night and then this morning to like getting the call, because I knew I had a race winning car after yesterday. So yeah, I mean, that's the bigger picture. So you never know when you'll ever have another one. You may not. You know, I've been really supportive of her and, you know, the way that she wants to have this play out, which is as natural as possible. You know, everyone asks, why don't you just schedule? And it's just, you know, I don't know. You just got to let her decide in these situations. And, you know, if it causes me to miss a race, it's one of 701 races that I missed, and it's just not that big of a deal.
Heather Gibbs said you don't do anything anyway.
Well, that is true. But I've been in the room before, and she needs something really hard to grab onto, and my hand is perfect for it. So I'll definitely going to be there this week, hopefully, to hold her hand.
All right, go ahead.
Jasmine Sharp with the podium finish. Rolling into next week, going from a track like Michigan into Mexico City and snagging the win and all that, how does that mentally boost you overall? How does it make you feel overall?
Well, you want to capitalize on tracks that you know you're very capable of winning. You know, my odds, of course, when I go to Michigan and any other oval is a lot better than when I go to Mexico or some other road course. So, you know, you kind of budget into your year of like, you know, if you want to get to a point total, a win total, you know, I've got probably 31 really, really good shots. And then I have the other ones, it's like we need to go get a good day. So when you look at the schedule, and I'm just a realist, like, sure, you know, 36 people probably think that they can go win Mexico. That's not true. There's about like 8 that are really capable of winning. I'm a realist, and so I know that I've got realistically 31 chances to win. This is one of them. And even beyond the 31, this is probably in the top 20, 30% of tracks that I really excel at. And I'm going to have a better than normal chance to win. So I've been really close here in the past. And you know, Gabe Hart said yesterday after our debrief, he was like, you're going to win tomorrow. I know it. You know, of course, because I never got to win with you here. So of course you're going to win now that I'm not here. So he knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. So it feels really good and certainly gives you confidence, you know, going into racetracks where, you know, I know realistically I'm aiming for good days.
All right, Larry, do you have a mic? Yes. Go ahead, Larry. Then Taylor, you're next.
Larry Leach from AP, can you take us in your head at all with all the juggling you're doing as a driver, expecting dad, lawsuit? Seems like you got a lot.
You don't want any parts of this head. No parts. The tackle box is full. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and I don't know. It's just that's just the way I'm wired. It's the way I've always been. I don't know if it's all I've always been this way, but certainly over the last 10, 15 years, I've been this way, where I'm just really addicted to the process of being good, and it's become harder and harder every single year. The process changes every year of what it takes to excel. But, you know, I'm racing guys that are, you know, some of them pretty much half my age, and they're so good, and they're really, really good. And so it's really gratifying when I know I can run with them and I know I can beat them. And today was one of those gratifying moments where, you know, you've got a young, one of the best drivers out there, and he knows how to defend and he knows how to do all the right things to keep me behind. But like, I still was able to, you know, put my craft at work and get the best of them, at least on today, right? So it just feels really good to 20 years later still feel like this is the best that I've ever been.
All right, Taylor, go ahead.
Taylor DeSarmo with MLive.com. I'm curious if the OHIO thing was planned. Did you think of that before?
Well, my friend Travis, he gave me a group text. It was the guys that we went to the games with last year. And I told him, I says, I'm going to win today for you, Trav. And then the other friend says, oh, feeling pretty good about your car, huh? And I was like, it was more just, you know, I took a picture with my friends who had the 11 Against the World. They had the bus in 3 and 4, and I sent it to the group chat of the guys. And then he was like, man, it'd feel good if you won from that school up north, like right in their backyard. I said, well, I'm going to do it for you. And so I did it just for my buddy Trav.
Is there a little disdain for Michigan? I know you grew up in Virginia.
I have no, no. Actually, Michael's publicist, Esty, she hates it. She's a Michigan grad and absolutely despises of me doing this Ohio State stuff. So I got a little fine, tightrope I've got to walk a little bit.
Well,
I wasn't smart enough to go to any college, so what do I care?
Our student volunteers here are from Michigan as well, so
Sorry.
we do
Sorry about
appreciate
that.
a little
Sorry.
bit of the love. All right,
Respect.
Jeff, go ahead.
Hopefully y'all can, at least you're winning one game a year.
Did you see the stat from Daniel Cespedes on X this week about drivers with their?
Yes.
So you were the 20th to start more than 700, and now
Only 20 people have got more than 700 starts.
right, and only 10 have won now. So half.
It's
only
actually it's actually surprising. Half of them have won. I guess if you've run that many starts, you're probably you got some longevity in the sport. You're probably decent, but.
So and only 6 have.
I hear you.
Only 6 have won multiple after their 700. So.
I like my chances.
What does it say about your competitiveness? I mean, you touched on it a minute ago with Larry's question, but what does it say about your competitiveness at this age that you're still in 3 wins this year? That's as many as you've won the last couple seasons. Obviously, there's still a long way to go this year.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good, and I'm so hung up on trying to get to a win total that I told you before I get really frustrated on the days that I feel like I had the car, I just didn't have the execution, or I made a mistake. But it's gratifying. I look at the names that have won multiple, and I think Jeff Gordon's got the most, right? And it's like, these guys are, I can't hold their helmet back. They're better than I am. I know they're better than I am because I've raced against them. And it just is like, feels good because, I'm going to hate it when I'm not at the level I'm at now. I certainly will retire very, very quickly after that. I'm not going to hang around and do it just to do it, but this is how I want to spend my last season, is like still winning, and so I'm going to keep going, and I'd love to beat that record. If I do, then I'm going to put myself in the mid 60s and wins, and I got to count on possibly Logano, possibly more than likely Larson overtaking us in wins. Like, you got to budget for at least a couple of these guys that are started so much younger than I did to beat us on the win total. And so I forever want to be in the top 10. It's not going to be forever. There's going to be someone that comes down the line that's going to be the best ever, and they're going to win a lot. But at least while I'm alive, I want to be in the top 10 for the most wins. And I just love knocking them off one by one, and certainly getting 3 already this year is putting me on pace to where I think I need to be.
Petty has 22 after 700 starts. You can't get that, but the other guys.
I'm not going to get 22. No.
All right, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did, Denny. This is Roy Akers, Skyview Sports. Obviously, you're a full throttle pedal the metal guy. What would you do if you just had a free hour to yourself? I mean, is it just spend time with your family? Do you just need to clear your head, or is that not even possible for you?
I would spend that hour trying to organize what I'm going to do next. That's truthfully what I would do, is like I'd try to prioritize what have I put off, and then I'd do that first, and then figure out ongoing projects or things like that are going on that need some attention. I would just spend it scheduling. Truthfully, I would go to whatever I feel like I've ignored or procrastinated to. I'd do that first, and then I'd try to organize all the other shit. So that's what I would do. My mind, it just wouldn't rest. I can tell you that.
All right, we're going to go Dustin and then Zach.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Obviously, you've been outspoken and had fun with the crowd in the past, but you had kind of backed it down, obviously, lately. Was it getting boring in a way, or were you hearing too many cheers? I know you get a lot of boos at intros, but it's to do this now, and I understand with your friends, kind of maybe prodding that, but this, it seemed like you'd kind of shut the door on some of that, and now this is like, I don't know, I'm gonna say evil Denny or something like that, but Denny has come back. Yeah, I mean, until the crowd shifts to mostly cheers over boos, I'm always going to antagonize the booers like that until you really get the switch, which I don't think I'm ever going to in my career. What else is there? If I can't have fun with it, like, I got to find ways to have fun doing this. It's such a grind, and it's so hard to win that, I found myself winning races a few years ago, and like, I just moved on to Monday, and it was like on to the next track. Like, I never really got to spend it celebrating. I took for granted that, like, well, I'm just going to win next week. I'm going to win the week after that. So, like, I just thought another one was going to always come. And then, I just, you have another birthday, and, you keep wondering, like, how long are you going to be able to keep doing this at this level? And it's like, 57 might be it. None of us in this room know. And so I'm at least going to enjoy it as if it's my last. And then I'll go to work on Monday, just like I always have. But I don't want to be so ho-hum with winning that it becomes boring, because then I lose my drive. You have talked in the past in terms of names for children that you guys don't come up with it till in the room or afterwards. So if you do not actually have a name chosen, does what happened today potentially inspire any thoughts? What a good question. I don't know. I mean, we obviously have this dating app that is essentially swipe left, swipe right on names, and then you match names that you both like. Like, it pops up, it's like, ooh, she liked it and you liked it. And so right now we have, like, I don't know, 13 to 15 names that we've matched. I have one that was hung up on, like, right from the beginning. It's interesting. She did give me the option. She says you can have if you had to pick one or the other, you either get to schedule this or you get to have the name. Which one? You can't have both. I said, I'll take the name. So she's getting it her way, and then hopefully I have things my way after it's all said and done. But it's a great point that does something from today get in there somewhere. That's a good thought. The last thing is, I know at the end of the day, it's not your job to care about the competition. But as somebody who's been through the battles and the ups and downs, can you have any type of empathy for somebody like Carson Hocevar, in the sense of the gut punches, the ups and downs that he's gone through, just even in the last 4 or 5 weeks? No question. Yeah, absolutely. Where I don't feel sorry for him is he actually is half my age, and so I know he's got way more time to win those races. So it just, you can't run as fast as he's running, being up front as much as he's up front, without eventually winning. And I know that panic sometimes can set in. It's like, God, we lost this opportunity. But he's with a team that's on a rise. He is on the rise. And so it's just a matter of time. And so I don't think none of us would be shocked if it's next week or if it's a month from now, or whenever it is. I certainly give him his fair share of shit on Mondays on my podcast, but that doesn't mean I don't respect his talent. Absolutely just a superstar when it comes to actual raw talent, when he figures out how to harness that and pick and choose the moments where he is aggressive, he's going to put it all together and just, be the next whoever. There's 5 to 6 elite drivers in this field. He can be one of those 5 or 6 very easily when he puts it all together. He's got all the tools to do it. He's got all the pieces of the puzzle right there in front of him. He has all the pieces. He's not missing anything. It's just when he figures out the riddle of how to put it together, he's going to be a future star.
Zach Sterniel on NASCAR.com. You talked earlier about how gratifying it was holding off or getting past Byron and the moves that it took to make that happen. He's, before you get there, he's trying to set the pace himself to make sure that he can get to the end. You're trying to push that pace forward so, A, you get the lead, and B, run him out of fuel. Mm-hmm. What's the balance as a veteran trying to race your race and capitalize when you've got the upper hand?
Well, I never will assume someone's going to run out. And I always am going to assume when I get there to challenge for the lead, they're going to go 100%. And I think that was the case. They told me over the radio, they told him, you got to go. You got to hold the lead. And we run out. That's the right strategy to do, which in turn made it more gratifying to me to pass him when he, was going all out. So I think that, I'm trying, it is a balance. But I always feel like at the time I had the upper hand on him with the car, the lines that I was able to run versus the lines he was able to run. And I just saw some vulnerabilities with his car that after running right on his bumper for 10 laps that I was able to pick him apart or pick the car apart and capitalize on the one spot of the track that I thought that I could get him. And so it's a cat and mouse game. I mean, we're going into the corner and you see us swerving and all this other stuff. We're all just trying to predict what the hell, who's going to be where. And it's just so interesting. If this is, like an Xfinity car, I'd just drive up straight behind them and I'd get them loose and get them out of the way. But with these cars, the advantage is all the leaders, and it's just tremendously hard as the second place guy to surprise someone entering a corner. And I was able to drive in deep enough and attack that left rear headlight to get them shoved up out of the groove, and then next thing you know, we're racing. So yeah, I was just going all out, but I wasn't pushing it to the sense where as soon as I got to him, I gave it all I had. Like I knew I had enough time to get a run, see what he had, find out his strengths versus my strengths. What part of the track do I need to, like, it takes an entire lap to, if I choose to get him into turn 1, I've got to start planning that attack one full lap ahead of time. So it's a crazy game, and it's just, you're playing chess out there, and everyone is doing it.
All right, I'm going to have time to take one more question. I'm going to go to Chris because I saw his hand first earlier. Apologies, we won't get to everyone, but Denny still has some stuff to do, and I would like to get you home just in case. Yes, go ahead.
KirstenKnight.com. Denny, the race seemed exciting today, or much more thrilling than we are accustomed to at Michigan. What did it seem?
1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2.
It gives me that option, right? If Byron wants to try to block, all right, I've got 3 lanes where I can go lower. It suits the drag of these cars. They have a lot of drag in them. They got downforce in them, and so it just fits this car's sweet spot of racing. And you could argue the truck race was phenomenal yesterday, but, besides the end of the race when everyone wrecked. Like, that's what you get at a track like this, where it's like handling matters, but it races somewhat similar to a super speedway in how you want to approach your runs, staying in certain lines, things like that. So it's the sweet spot of this car, and why it races so well in 1.5 miles. It races well on tracks that are really wide. Now we've taken the normal 1.5 miles, added some longer straightaways to it, got wide corners like we have here, and it's just the perfect track for the next gen car.
Bubba seems to get his mojo back with another top 5 today. How important is that for the 23 team moving into the crucial summer stretch?
Yeah, I mean, they had a rough spot there for the last month or so before last week. Finish it, not running. They didn't run well at Charlotte. You can't argue about getting wrecked when you're running in the back. So I think that that kind of stuff happens, but man, just everyone goes through it. Really, truthfully, besides the 24, which did he make it on? He ran out. Like, this is the first time I can remember the 24 really getting a bad finish. Like, they execute so well. But most everyone else will go through parts of the season where you just can't get a good finish. Like, it'll be a 2, 3, sometimes it's a 5 race stretch like it is right now going on with the 48. You just have that sometimes. But you got to be good enough in the other races to where that stuff doesn't matter. If you find yourself on the bubble, it ain't because you had that bad 5 race stretch. It's because you didn't run good enough in the other 31 races. So it's just you gotta just take the wins, and for them today is a good win for them. On these days where you get some stage points, you capitalize on your good day, and you get some of that mojo like you talked about back, and you start to forget about the negative mojo that you had for the week prior. This is the bad swells that everyone has, and certainly he's gone through. You can forget it, and you won't be on that bubble as long as you run good enough the other races that you don't have those problems.
All right, Denny, thank you again, and congratulations.
All right, thank you.